And help me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, Jake, I'm going to give the floor to you.
You have a couple of other agenda items. So we have roll call votes or roll call. I think we have all three commissioners here. And then approval of the April 30th and June 9th minutes is the other thing on the calendar on the agenda here as an action item. This should be in your guys' drive. If you have any issues with those, we're not doing that.
We're in the bylaws now.
No, these are approval of the minutes for the last two meetings.
Oh.
So you have the April 9th and the April 30th and the June 9th minutes. I think there's a physical copy floating in here somewhere too, right?
The minutes.
Did you send us a copy of the minutes? I didn't see that.
I got this background
Anywhere.
I was making, so.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal, but yeah, thank you.
Should be in your drive for review.
We're doing the minutes of the last two meetings.
Correct.
Okay.
So in your G drive there, under agendas, minutes and meeting packets 25, you'll have three different dates there, the 4:30, the 6:09 and 6:30. So you have the two draft minutes from the last meetings in each one of those respective folders.
Turn your microphone up a little bit, would you, Jason, please?
I'll project a little bit louder.
Okay, yeah.
These don't amplify too much, so I'll try to speak louder.
Good luck. Make a motion, we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
We'll get those uploaded onto our website as approved, and then we'll get your signature on those.
You need a signature on this?
Yeah, is that the only, do we have the last minutes from April 30th or just the June 9th, 30th?
Do me a favor, when you're correcting stuff, my last name is with two T's.
2 T's. Sir.
You can print those off and run up to Bradley. Bring them down. So the first or the second action item here is approval of the APA Commission bylaws. So I think you have received a copy of those. Do you have any concerns, questions, changes you want to see in those?
I just had one question myself, and I'm not singling you out.
That's fine.
Those bylaws are different than the copy of the ones I gave you. You changed the boundary county to Bonner County and so on and so forth, but there's each section is broken down more. And you explain the reason for that?
So we use
why does it differ? Because I kind of assumed, which is wrong, but that all the counties in Idaho are going to adopt that same set of bylaws.
Yeah. So there was a number of changes I needed to make because the way they have theirs set up, and
I mean, I'm sure some of it was to conform to county rules. Yeah.
Some of it has to do with, it looks like the way they adopted their title was a little bit different than the way we did ours. Of their ordinance itself. And then we also wanted these to look similar to the zoning commission and planning commission bylaws. So some of the formatting, we changed to format to make it similar to those other commissions.
Yeah. I'm sure it all makes sense. I'm just curious.
That's some of the rationale behind one thing. And I think I had Alex do I did like the first pass review, and then I gave him some direction to make some additional changes. Okay.
But do we need a motion to approve the bylaws? I'll make that motion.
I second. All in favor of adopting the bylaws, wait, Jake, send us a copy.
Aye.
Okay,
Easy peasy.
here, on that, I got a question here from my neighbor.
I will update
Not
those.
used to that without a mouse, what number, if I scroll to something and then where do I
If you
click?
just, in this case, it's just the up or down arrow,
Yeah,
will take you.
that will open it.
Oh, we'll open it, let's just do this. So right here,
Yeah,
the bylaws,
right.
right here, it's this.
We'll click on the pad. Okay,
Click on the pad.
you can tell I'm not a desktop person.
You just.
I mean, a laptop.
You just, exhausted my limit.
I'm sorry.
I'm with you.
Oh, okay, we're good.
I'm totally with you. No, it's,
Is ready to move on to the Title 16 changes? So same thing in that,
just,
Got it.
the same in your drive, you'll have a document labeled, I think, draft, APA ordinance draft. There's a couple things I still need to add to this, but I wanted to make sure that you agreed with all these changes before. So I'll have to do like a summary of the proposed updates. Right now I just have the header in there. So I'll draft the actual verbiage. That's what gets published in the newspaper. Whenever we go to amend the title, we get like a summary of it versus publishing the entire update. So if I highlight some of the major changes, we're calling out, rather than land use maps, calling into the APA maps. Let's see. And then I revised some of these.
you can take. Look at this. There's a gray bar right there. Okay, so then just hold this. And. Like that. Open that.
See, I didn't exhaust your talents.
Okay.
You guys need help finding
Quit laughing
this
at me, you
document?
guys.
I'm not laughing. I'm just being patient. It's fine.
I'm right with you there.
Do you need any help finding the document, or have you found it?
What are we looking for now?
We're on to the draft Title 16 changes.
Oh, we're not in the 1133 anymore. Okay, how do I get back there?
Okay, so.
Essentially, what I've done is try to
Here the
incorporate
areas.
the changes from that Senate Bill 1133 into this draft changes for our Title 16, our APA ordinance.
So look at that X.
Oh, close it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Then we're going to the ordinance.
Yep.
Okay. Which one?
First one?
So you should have one labeled APA ordinance draft.
Yeah, there are two. Oh,
One's a Word doc.
One's a
one's
PDF and the other one's a.
What do we want? PDF or the Word?
It doesn't matter. So
Okay,
I have the Word doc open here just so I can make any changes as we go through.
Just double on this one. Right here.
can't be up here. It's gotta be done in this
I
corner.
I guess, yeah.
Okay,
And then.
all right.
We're back to that same get there. And. Then we'll have to pull.
Oh, you have to hold this.
And then just take your finger up and down on that side.
I got you.
Okay.
If you guys need a mouse, we have mice we can pick up for those as well. Don't have to use trackpad. Yeah, Dylan will get a mouse for you. Okay, so as I was saying, we have I reviewed it against this new standard found in that Senate bill
Thank you.
and made some minor revisions, so the review process as I think we discussed this last time, rather than make a recommendation to the board and requiring the board to hold a hearing. The recommendation goes to the planning director, who makes the final decision on these, which are appealable to the board. Yes, sir. I think the state statute calls out planning director, planning and zoning administrator, or other person or official appointed by the board or something along those lines. So when we adopted this earlier this year, the board essentially said the planning department is going to be the administrators of this code. And we adopted planning director in the definitions section as the one appointed to make the decisions on it. So if the board wants to appoint somebody else, I'm happy with that. Road and Bridge, I think, is a really good partner. They can handle these. So in this case, we are modifying that in response to that statute change. Let's see. We're adding in here the new process. This came out of state statute again, so we're removing sections C, D, E, F, and G. And then essentially copy pasting a lot, made some minor edits to it. The new provisions of this decision-making process per this new Senate bill, which takes effect tomorrow. So there's timelines associated with it. So the planning director has 60 days. If I don't make a decision after your guys' meeting, your recommendation to me becomes final, and that's appealable to the board. So this comes right out of that new statute. So
Well, that would only be in the case if we disagreed with you, right?
not necessarily if I fail to act, essentially. So you make a recommendation and I just sit on it for 2 months.
Oh,
After 2 months, the bureaucrat doesn't get any more time. Your recommendation becomes final, and that's the decision. Because every governmental action needs some kind of appeal process. So if I fail to make a decision, yours is the decision, and then that's appealable. So assume you make a recommendation for denial or a recommendation for approval, and an affected party, a neighbor, or the applicant themselves wants to appeal that. The timeline goes through. If it takes 2 weeks for me to make a decision, then my decision then is appealable to the board, and there's timelines associated with each one of those processes. So this is just taking what the new process by the state statute and applying it into our code.
Just to clarify, how long do we have to give that to you?
So you have 60 days from the time we receive the application and deem it complete to make a recommendation to me.
Okay,
So-
and then you have 60 days.
Yep,
so when you get an application, you're gonna forward it to us to look over,
correct. So
so we have our thoughts formed before we come to the next meeting.
yeah,
Yeah.
what's interesting here is that your meeting is not a hearing, so, which is great, because we don't have to publish it as a hearing item in front of the, in the newspaper or anything like that. So the timeline for getting it to you guys is pretty fast. We deem it complete, we can make a recommendation on it. We can schedule a meeting within, we have to have like a 48-hour notice on the agenda. We agendize it, and then we present, you make a recommendation. So you can elicit public comment, but I don't think it's required. You can give staff and the applicant a time to make a comment. You can open it up for public comment if they want to, but it's not a public hearing, so you don't have to. So it's kind of interesting how they deliberately differentiated your recommendation as a meeting and not a hearing. So previously you would make a recommendation to the board and the board would hold a hearing. So that's not the case here. You make a recommendation, comes to me for a decision. My decision is appealable as a hearing item to the board. So that would get a notice in the paper and all that.
To the commissioners for.
Correct. Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah.
So this is a faster process, the way they changed this. And it should be cheaper essentially to process because you're not going in front of the board. There's no noticing requirements outside of an agenda, so there's no cost to publishing in the paper.
And if we find things that aren't working, I mean, we can always
Absolutely.
amend this, can't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
as I mentioned at the last meeting, your jurisdiction really isn't on the ordinance, that's on the board to adopt.
Right.
But the board's asked this commission to make recommendations of these and changes to this ordinance. So that's why we decided to bring it in. So moving on, we had a reconsideration. So as I mentioned, every action is appealable. So right now, under a different state statute, every final decision by the board has to go through a reconsideration process. There wasn't an appeal language in the current statute for APA. they added one in this new revision, so we are eliminating our reconsideration process. Because the new statute says that the final decision is appealable to the court, so there's no reconsideration necessity anymore. So this new statute dictates when the board makes their final decision, if they disagree again, they can file it within the court, given a specific timeline. So we're just revising our statute or our ordinance here to reflect that. Questions on that? And I got kind of a little legalese attack. So this is a copy paste with some minor edits to it and referencing the right code sections. And then eliminating that all that the reconsideration language. I think that's the majority of the language. Some minor edits to the prohibitions and of uses. To copy paste the new clarification that this Senate bill adds. Let's see. As far as like what is restricted on a property that's been designated APA. And I think that's it. So if you have any additional changes or if I miss anything, I'd be happy to. I'm a fallible human being, so feel free. If I miss any other changes that we need to make, I'd be happy to entertain those.
It's good to me.
I don't think we need a formal decision by this body. I think what you do, we wanted to workshop this. And then from here, I'll publish in the paper and then present it as a hearing item with the board, county commissioners, who will then adopt this ordinance and it'll be ratified and become codified in our code. So I have to do at least a 15-day notice in the newspaper for a hearing. So hopefully by the end of the month, I have something. By the end of July, I have it approved with the board, but the board has a pretty tight schedule in July, so I'll do my best. And in that, I'll
We
make
got any input?
I think it sounds good, just
Nope, okay.
glancing over it, it looks pretty good.
I think so.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, as I was mentioning, so from there, the board will make a final decision on this. It'll become ratified essentially. We'll add it to our code and all that jazz. So,
Okay.
I'll mention in that meeting that we had a workshop that you guys reviewed it and no additional changes were needed. Those ones. So we have on here, review of state statute or review that Senate bill. I just put those all as agenda items on here because it's kind of all covered in these changes. So if we wanted to bring up anything else in those, we can. That's about it. I think the next agendized meeting or the next scheduled meeting for this commission is in August. We still don't have any applications at this point, so we don't receive any unless you have something else you guys want to discuss. Kind of just wait to see if we get if we get an application, then great. If not, then I'm not sure if there's a need to.
If we've covered everything that you need to cover.
I believe so.
Yeah. I'm good.
We have a date.
Paying season and I got machines down, so yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull up the calendar.
How's your hay look south of town?
Pardon me?
How's the hay look south of town?
Good. Yeah, not bad at all. It's had better years, but it's.
Yeah, that's kind of how ours is starting out too. But ours hasn't
Yield
raked
wise,
and
yield
failed.
wise it's down, quality wise it's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
The rain we had, what, 10 days ago? That was a hell.
Yeah.
At least if you, I don't know if you got it for your.
Yeah, we
August
had,
11th.
August 11th.
Yeah,
okay.
at 1:30 is our current scheduled next meeting.
it was mostly drying weather, warm enough to dry, you know, but that breeze we had going for a couple days really helped.
And will our meetings be in this room going forward?
Generally,
Okay,
if there's an election happening, this room gets stolen or booked or taken by the elections department for that month of the meeting or
Okay.
the month of the election. So like say November and springtime and like April, May, this usually gets taken and we have to schedule upstairs.
okay.
So the next one is for,
August 11th at 1:30 is our next meeting. So
Okay.
that's again, but if we don't have any applications, unless there's a need to revise the code any other additional way, I don't know if we need to have that meeting. It's good to put placeholders on there so that if an applicant does come in. Again, we have 60 days, so if it came in tomorrow, we'd have to meet before August 11th. No, wait,
No,
July, yeah, it'll be fine.
Well,
yeah, we'd still be good.
Yeah, I think we have penciled in every other month a meeting just to meet that 60-day timeline.
okay,
But if somebody comes in and it's like 62 days. Assuming they have a complete application day one, which.
so if August, would you say 7th or 11th?
11th.
7th. If August 11th comes along and we don't have any
Yep.
applications.
Yep.
We should be able to cancel the meeting and shift it.
Yep.
Email wise, right?
So then it'll be October after that, and then December after that, so, yeah. It's probably good to meet at least, a couple times a year. Just to,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think we'll need to elect a chair once a year and look at the bylaws and see if anything needs changed or anything like that. We can review the statute if any other additional changes happen, so. The planning and zoning laws under local land use planning act and the state statute requires them to meet so many times per year. I think it's 9 out of 12. There's nothing in that for the EPA commission, so there's no minimum number of meetings you have to hold. I don't know why, probably just to avoid unnecessary meetings and expense to the counties.
yeah. Well. Yeah, no sense in wasting anybody's time if it's necessary, that's one thing, but if it's not, yeah.
So I'll inform the commission as soon as we get any applications, let you guys know that we're gonna hold a meeting at one. Okay. And then I'll also let you know whenever that board hearing is gonna be on these changes, and if any of you want to attend, then feel free. Otherwise you can see it on YouTube or Zoom as well.
You know, I go to very few commissioners meetings and I keep thinking that I probably need to go more, just so I know what's going on a little better, but you get so busy, you just get sidetracked or postpone.
Right.
But yeah, I would like to go here,
I'll make sure,
especially when it concerns us in this
Right.
APA thing, I think, yeah.
so I'll make sure I shoot you guys an email, let you know whenever that gets scheduled for. Again, I'll try to get it done in July, but we'll see. Maybe August or September, but this should be a fairly quick meeting with the board. It should be fairly fast. It's minor changes. So I'll review it with Mr. Domke, our commissioner over my department. And see if he has any changes he wants to make to this, and then otherwise we'll just get it out of hearing. Cool.
Okay, want a motion to adjourn?
Another thing, so one minor additional edit, if you want to call it that, there's a new state statute regarding reasoned statement analysis. So there was I shouldn't say a new statute. The statute's been effective for some time. There was a ruling from Ada County or City of Boise. It was on a land use concern. And the Supreme Court, the Idaho Supreme Court made a ruling that required that written decisions have to have a reasoned statement analysis and then really explain what that means. Interestingly, when the state adopted this APA ordinance, they included the same language out of the local land use planning act on this reasoned statement analysis. So we don't have any applications yet. This really is concerning whenever it gets challenged to a district court level. Each one of our challenged decisions from last year are getting remanded back to the county because we didn't have this specific type of reasoned statement analysis. And it's changing how we are processing files. And so whenever we get an APA designation, you'll see this reasoned statement analysis coming for this body, and then it'll be included in decision letters going. So just kind of a heads up. It's a worksheet we use that takes our staff analysis, and then the hearing bodies will each make a finding on every standard, even if it is simply adopting what the staff report says as the analysis. On top of that, you have to deliberate on any contested facts. And I think I'll have to double check, but I think the APA statute included that same contested facts line. That one's a little challenging. So if someone comes in and says, hey, the standard says this and I interpret it this way, you then have to deliberate on that and say which one rules, which one is more persuasive. The comment from the opposing party, if you want to call it that, versus what the staff has in the staff report, and then make a yeah. It's -5 of it, so. I know for you guys, this is all brand new, so to me, it's a big change on how we're processing and writing our decision bonus.
Yeah, but I think all of us realize, no matter how new we are to this, we know there's a lot of hoops that we're not familiar with. That you guys have to go through.
So I would say it's a change that you'll see in staff reports, but once you finally get a staff report, it'll just know it'll include this reason statement worksheet. And it'll have a bunch of blank spots for this commission to deliberate on in your recommendation to me on the decision. Then my decision has to incorporate the reason statement analysis, which is essentially going to be a copy paste of the analysis of the staff report. So
You say that this language is in the APA.
the
What do you
statute,
call it? Statute,
yeah, it is. So it's,
so it's in what we're looking at in here someplace.
I don't know if it's in our ordinance specifically. I could add that. It doesn't hurt.
You could send it separately. I'm just curious to see what it reads like.
Yeah, I can highlight the statute section and show you what I'm talking about, and I'll send it to you in better. It's not sure. It's a very specific line, and when you read it, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, the Supreme Court made a very specific finding or ruling on that and what they want to see. So, yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of like a justification worksheet for a decision?
Yep, it's exactly what it is. So
Yeah,
where previously we could rely on deliberation and transcripts to say, this is what we meant when we said this in the findings of fact, right? It might have a single line, and then the deliberation was very long, right? We can't do that anymore. We have to rely specifically on the written decision itself. So
well,
we have to expand on our written decisions.
we took the job and I already have been approached by people asking questions about what this APA program is about. And sometimes I feel like I don't have enough answers
Yeah,
or enough knowledge of it. I mean, I basically understand the basic process here, but some of these questions come out of left field and they really borderline whether they really have anything to do with the APA or not. But I guess the more you know, the better educated you are, the better you can answer. So let's see.
and feel free to send people my way. Like I'm happy to sit down and meet with people and talk about the ordinance and the intent behind this and the process. And all.
Well, the biggest question that I've been asked so far, and we'll all get it sooner or later, if you haven't already, is what's in it for them? You know, and truthfully, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only rationale I can think of, I think I've explained this before, is estate planning, right?
Yeah.
If you're an old farmer and you want to ensure your kids continue to farm, you essentially restrict your own property rights. It's volunteering up property rights.
That brings up one of the questions that I was asked about this. If a guy, I know a guy that has probably 60 acres and he wants to keep it in the family and he actually wants to parcel it to some of his grandkids or kids maybe. Is there any restriction from that?
I'm going to 16.110 of prohibitions. So, yeah, so unless otherwise approved by the Board of County Commissioners, the following land uses shall be prohibited within an APA. The siting of residential, commercial, manufacturing, industrial, solar, or wind energy structures, or any other non-agricultural land uses on lands included within the agriculture protection area shall be prohibited unless such uses are also contributing to agricultural production.
Well,
So if you divide it up and add additional residential. Yeah,
yeah, I suppose there's a couple scenarios that swam through my head about that. Is this particular piece, and I've been cutting hay off of it for the last 50 years, so I know it pretty well. It now belongs to one of my relatives, and he asked me about this. And the flat ground, the hay ground, to the best of my knowledge, will stay hay ground. I think what he's talking about is the hillside, which is solid rock and timber up there, if it was possible to piece some of that off for home sites for the kids down the road.
it's still applicable. County zoning ordinances are still applicable to any one of these. So what he could do is the lowlands that are all ag production, you could designate that as APA, and then anything upwards, you could divide it off and say, hey, this is.
So on the legal description, you would have to separate the ed, the non-ag.
Yep, that's what I would recommend if they want to ensure this area right here gets designated as APA and used for, agriculture production. And then any areas they want to continue to be able to develop.
Well, I can't imagine anybody wanting to build a house out down there in the middle of my hayfield, but you never know what somebody else thinks.
Right, that's fair.
Okay, that was it.
Well, great. I will get that scheduled for hearing and let you guys know. That's all I have.
Are we ready to adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay. I would accept the motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Well, then what kind of grass do you, alfalfa or